Hi, this video is going to explain and do a couple problems with the distributive property. You start to see this property when you are doing beginning algebra, and it feels a little weird at first, like why do we even need to learn it? So let's say we just have something like this. This is not an equation, by the way, this is an expression. That means that we cannot solve for x on this because there's no equal sign. Equations have equal sign and you can usually solve for x or y or whatever the letter is. When you have something like this with no equal sign, sometimes you can simplify it, but you'll never find out from this expression itself what x is. Anyways, the distributive property comes about because when we do order of operations with arithmetic and there's no x's, y's, or letters, usually we start with parentheses, right? The order of operations is basically, that's a whole different video, but we would have to do parentheses first. Our parentheses here has an x plus 1. Well, that's illegal to do that in algebra. You can't add an x to a 1. They're not like terms. And that also is another video, so if you're not sure what a like term is, go look for that video. So we need to figure out how to get rid of those parentheses and not change the expression horribly, like we have to do it legally. So the distributive property means to multiply through. To distribute something, like if you're distributing goods, you're giving them out. So we're going to take this 3 and we're going to distribute it or spread it out to everything that is inside the parentheses. So I'm just drawing the arrows there to kind of anchor us down to what we mean. So we do the 3 and we're going to multiply it with the x. 3 times x just turns out to be 3x. I'm going to bring that plus sign down, and then I multiply the 3 with the 1, and 3 times 1 just gives us 3. So we've distributed it through. Okay, let's try another one. Let's say that we have 2, and this time we have 5x minus 6. Again, when I look inside the parentheses, I can't subtract 5x and 6. They're not like terms. So in order for us to simplify this, we need to distribute through. 2 is going to multiply with 5x. What is 2 times 5? That's 10, and we just put the x on at the end. Bring down that minus sign, and then we have to distribute also multiply 2 times 6, which is 12. And that's as far as you can go on that. You can't subtract something with an x with something that does not have an x. Okay, let's try another one. Actually, I'm going to show you another way that 6 minus, let's not, I just used a 5, I think, so we'll do 6 minus 8m. So this is how I've seen it written sometimes, especially I feel like if a textbook or an assessment wants to kind of trip you up. This looks like a whole different animal. 6 minus 8m is in parentheses, and there's this random 10 afterwards. So I want to empower you and say, hey, you know what? You can rewrite this. The 10, so the 10 is multiplying. There's nothing between that parentheses and the 10, so we know it's multiplication happening. And it's funny how when I rewrite it like this, so many of my students suddenly know exactly what to do. They just start off, they're like, hold on a second, and they just draw these arrows. They know that everything in the parentheses is going to get multiplied by 10, and then they're off to go. So 10 times 6 gives you 60, copying that minus sign. 10 times 8, that is going to be 80, and again, just keep the m there. We know that we're done because 60 is a plain number, the 80 is attached to the m, and they are not like terms, and there's nothing else that we can do with that. I think I will show another one because it's not always a fact that you're going to have two things in the parentheses. So let's say that we have 6a plus 4b minus 5. So it's a little bit bigger chunk inside the parentheses, and we're going to multiply. The rule still applies the same. Everything in the parentheses gets multiplied by the 4. Again, how do I know that? It's because there's nothing between the 4 and the parentheses. If it had been like this and the rest of it was filled in, I would not be distributing through because of the plus. So if you see anything in between the parentheses and the number, then you're not going to be distributing. Okay, so having said that, let's go back. We're going to do 4 times 6, which is 24. Put the a after it. Plus 4 times 4 is 16. Put the b after it. Bring down the minus sign. 4 times 5 is 20. And again, double check your terms. You have an a term, a b term, and a plain number. You are done. So the distributive property is used as a stepping stone. You're probably headed towards learning how to solve equations, and the equal sign will sneak in there, and you'll learn a whole bunch of algorithms or logic on how to solve equations, and this will come up as you go through that. So, all right, I hope that this video has helped.